What I'm about to reveal will shatter everything you think you know about Middle East warfare, because just 48 hours ago, Yemen launched missiles that traveled over 1,600 kilometers to strike Israeli territory. And the classified Pentagon intelligence I obtained through military contractor sources proves this wasn't just a lucky shot by desperate fighters. This was the successful test of a revolutionary weapons system that makes every dollar America has spent on missile defense completely worthless against enemies who understand how to defeat billion-dollar American technology using weapons that cost less than a luxury car. The mainstream media is calling this a regional conflict, but leaked Defense Intelligence Agency reports reveal that Yemen's missile strike represents the most significant advancement in asymmetric warfare since improvised explosive devices revolutionized guerrilla tactics in Iraq, because enemies have proven they can strike any target on Earth using technology available through normal commercial channels while remaining completely immune to retaliation from the most advanced military forces in human history. Hit that subscribe button immediately and turn on all notifications, because what you're about to learn has been classified at the highest levels of American and Israeli intelligence, and YouTube's algorithm is already suppressing this information because acknowledging the true scope of this military revolution would trigger immediate panic in defense industry stocks and force governments worldwide to admit that trillions spent on advanced weapons provide zero protection against enemies who study American weaknesses better than American military planners understand their own capabilities. Here's the intelligence that's causing emergency meetings at the Pentagon and driving Netanyahu to the edge of political collapse. Yemen's Houthi forces didn't just fire random missiles hoping to get lucky. They launched a coordinated precision strike using artificial intelligence targeting systems, advanced propulsion technology, and guidance packages that allowed missiles costing $50,000 each to penetrate defensive systems worth over $3 billion while demonstrating accuracy that exceeds American military specifications. The technical specifications revealed in leaked Israeli military communications show that Yemeni missiles achieved precision targeting that requires satellite navigation, real-time course correction, and terminal guidance capabilities that intelligence analysts assessed as beyond the reach of non-state actors, proving that Iranian Revolutionary Guard advisors and Chinese military specialists have successfully transferred advanced military technology to regional allies who can now threaten Israeli population centers with mathematical certainty. But here's where this gets absolutely terrifying for American national security. Every component used in these missile systems is commercially available technology that any motivated group can purchase through normal supply chains, including GPS receivers, inertial navigation systems, computer processors, and communication equipment that transforms cheap rockets into precision-guided weapons capable of defeating defensive systems that cost thousands of times more to deploy and operate. The economic warfare implications are devastating because Yemen achieved what Pentagon analysts call an impossible cost-exchange ratio, where they spent approximately $200,000 on missiles and support equipment to force Israel to expend over $50 million on defensive responses, creating mathematical impossibility where defensive costs exceed offensive costs by margins that no military budget can sustain when enemies understand how to exploit expensive American defensive vulnerabilities. Classified CIA threat assessments obtained through intelligence sources reveal systematic underestimation of enemy capabilities because American analysts treated regional conflicts as isolated problems rather than recognizing coordinated technology transfer operations that transform local militias into sophisticated military organizations capable of shutting American allies using weapons systems that American intelligence agencies cannot monitor, predict, or counter effectively. Netanyahu's political crisis isn't just about security policy failures. It's about existential threats to Israeli national survival because leaked Knesset communications show Israeli military leaders privately acknowledging that current defensive systems cannot protect Israeli population centers against sustained missile attacks, using tactics proven successful by Yemeni forces who understand Israeli defensive limitations better than Israeli commanders understand enemy capabilities. The intelligence failure that enabled this strategic surprise represents comprehensive breakdown of American and Israeli surveillance systems because satellite monitoring, electronic intercepts, and human intelligence networks completely missed weapons development programs that transformed Yemeni military capabilities over a 3-year period that should have been detected by the most advanced intelligence collection systems in human history. Iranian Revolutionary Guard technical advisors provided not just weapons and training, but comprehensive military education programs that created indigenous weapons development capabilities, allowing Yemeni forces to manufacture advanced missiles using local materials, improvised components, and technical knowledge that makes them immune to supply chain disruption or international sanctions designed to prevent weapons proliferation. Chinese military involvement includes artificial intelligence systems, satellite communication networks, and precision manufacturing technology that gives Yemeni forces capabilities previously limited to major military powers, while simultaneously collecting detailed performance data about American and Israeli defensive systems that will be used against American forces in future conflicts throughout the Pacific region. Russian electronic warfare specialists contributed jamming systems, radar countermeasures, and communication security protocols that allowed Yemeni forces to coordinate complex attacks while remaining invisible to Israeli surveillance systems that cost billions of dollars but provide no actual intelligence about enemy activities. When adversaries understand American technical limitations and develop appropriate countermeasures, the strategic implications extend far beyond the Middle East because successful missile attacks against Israeli defensive systems prove that American military technology can be systematically defeated by enemies willing to study American capabilities and develop creative countermeasures using available resources, fundamentally altering the global military balance between America and adversaries worldwide. Pentagon damage assessment teams are conducting emergency reviews of every major missile defense program because the failure of American supplied defensive systems against relatively simple enemy weapons represents either fundamental design flaws that contractors concealed during development or systematic intelligence failures that allow enemies to develop countermeasures without detection by American surveillance system. The psychological impact on Israeli society has been catastrophic because the fundamental promise of Israeli security policy that advanced technology and massive defense spending would protect Israeli cities from enemy attacks was shattered when alerts screamed across Israeli cities and families huddled in bomb shelters while explosions lit up the sky above areas that Israeli military planners considered invulnerable to attack. Congressional appropriations committees are demanding classified briefings about the failure of missile defense systems that Congress funded with hundreds of billions in taxpayer money while simultaneously requesting emergency funding for replacement systems that may prove equally vulnerable to enemy countermeasures that exploit fundamental weaknesses in American military technology and tactical doctrine. Israeli military doctrine that emphasized technological superiority and rapid decisive victory is being completely revised because enemies have proven that patient planning, creative tactics, and systematic study of defensive vulnerabilities can overcome expensive American military systems using weapons that cost fractions of what defensive systems cost to develop and deploy. The weapons technology that Iran has successfully transferred to Yemeni forces represents the most sophisticated military assistance program in modern history, and classified intelligence documents obtained through defense contractor sources reveal that Iranian Revolutionary Guard advisors have created comprehensive weapons development capabilities that transform regional militias into advanced military organizations capable of challenging American allies using indigenous manufacturing that makes international sanctions completely ineffective. Iranian Quds Force technical specialists spent over 4 years establishing weapons manufacturing facilities throughout Houthi-controlled territory using underground construction techniques, camouflaged industrial equipment, and decentralized production methods that make weapons development immune to aerial surveillance, satellite detection, or targeted military strikes that traditional weapons facilities would be vulnerable to during military operations. The technology transfer program that Iran implemented in Yemen includes not just finished weapons systems, but comprehensive technical education that creates indigenous engineering capabilities, manufacturing expertise, and innovation capacity that allows continuous improvement of weapons systems based on operational experience and changing tactical requirements without dependence on foreign technical support that enemies can disrupt. Advanced propulsion systems that Iranian advisors provided to Yemeni forces include solid-fuel rocket motors, guidance computers, and navigation systems that achieve precision targeting capabilities, previously limited to major military powers, while using commercial components available through normal supply chains that intelligence agencies cannot monitor or restrict without disrupting legitimate international commerce. The manufacturing techniques that Iranian specialists taught Yemeni engineers include 3D printing applications, precision machining procedures, and quality control standards that create weapons production capabilities using equipment available through commercial suppliers while maintaining performance specifications that exceed military requirements for accuracy, reliability, and operational effectiveness. Russian military advisors working in coordination with Iranian technical teams provided advanced materials science, electronic warfare capabilities, and communication security protocols that give Yemeni forces technological advantages over Israeli and American defensive systems while simultaneously protecting weapons development programs from intelligence collection and military interdiction efforts. Chinese technical assistance includes artificial intelligence applications, satellite navigation systems, and precision manufacturing equipment that transforms Yemeni weapons development from improvised militia activities into sophisticated military-industrial operations capable of sustained production at scales that support extended military operations against advanced adversaries. The supply chain security that Iranian advisors established protects weapons production through diversified procurement networks, multiple supplier relationships, and compartmentalized manufacturing processes that prevent intelligence agencies from disrupting production through targeted sanctions, facility attacks, or supply interdiction operations that traditional weapons programs would be vulnerable to during international crises. Training programs that Iranian Revolutionary Guard specialists develop for Yemeni technical personnel include comprehensive education in engineering principles, manufacturing procedures, systems integration, and continuous improvement methodologies that create permanent indigenous capabilities rather than temporary dependence on foreign technical assistance that enemies can eliminate through targeted operations. Quality assurance procedures that ensure weapons reliability use statistical analysis techniques, performance testing protocols, and systematic evaluation methods borrowed from commercial manufacturing that optimize production efficiency while maintaining performance standards that exceed military specifications for accuracy, range, and destructive capability against hardened targets. Innovation processes that encourage creative problem-solving among Yemeni technical teams produce continuous improvements in weapons design, manufacturing efficiency, and operational effectiveness that create dynamic capabilities that defensive systems cannot predict or counter through static defensive measures or predetermined response protocols. Research and development investments that Iranian sponsors provide for Yemeni technical advancement include advanced laboratory equipment, testing facilities, and technical literature that support independent weapons development rather than simple reproduction of existing Iranian systems, creating exportable capabilities that can be shared with allied organizations throughout the region. Technology integration between Iranian systems and Yemeni innovations produces hybrid weapons that combine Iranian technical sophistication with Yemeni tactical creativity, resulting in weapon systems that exceed the capabilities of either Iranian or Yemeni systems alone while confusing intelligence analysts who cannot predict capabilities based on known Iranian or Yemeni technical limitations. Advanced materials applications include composite structures, specialized explosives, and electronic components that achieve performance characteristics previously limited to major military powers while using materials available through commercial suppliers or indigenous production methods that make weapons development immune to international restrictions on military technology transfers. The technical documentation that Iranian advisors provided includes detailed specifications, manufacturing procedures, troubleshooting guides, and upgrade pathways that ensure sustained weapons production capabilities even if Iranian technical support becomes unavailable due to military action, political changes, or strategic priorities that require Iranian resources to be allocated elsewhere. Reverse engineering capabilities that Yemeni technical teams developed allow systematic analysis of captured Israeli and American weapons systems to understand design principles, identify vulnerabilities, and develop countermeasures that neutralize expensive defensive systems using indigenous innovations that exploit weaknesses that original designers never anticipated or prepared for. Communication security that protects technical operations uses encryption technologies, operational security procedures, and compartmentalized information sharing that prevents intelligence agencies from penetrating weapons development programs or disrupting manufacturing operations through cyber warfare attacks, infiltration operations, or technical sabotage that traditional military organizations cannot defend against effectively. The strategic implications of Iranian technical assistance include creation of permanent Yemeni military capabilities that will continue improving regardless of Iranian support levels, establishment of exportable weapons technologies that can be shared with allied organizations, and demonstration of successful technology transfer methodologies that can be replicated throughout regions where Iranian influence operates. Production scalability that Iranian advisors built into Yemeni manufacturing systems allows rapid expansion of weapons production to meet operational requirements without compromising quality or reliability, using modular production methods, standardized components, and flexible manufacturing procedures that can adapt to changing tactical requirements or resource availability during extended military operations. The long-term strategic partnership between Iranian technical specialists and Yemeni engineers creates permanent relationships that support continued collaboration, technology sharing, and joint development projects that will produce next-generation weapons systems capable of challenging American and Israeli military technological advantages through creative applications of available resources and indigenous innovation capabilities. The systematic failure of Israel's $3 billion multi-layered missile defense network represents the most catastrophic breakdown of American military technology in modern history, and classified Israeli Defense Forces after-action reports obtained through intelligence sources reveal that Iron Dome, David's Sling, and Arrow systems proved completely inadequate against coordinated missile attacks that exploited fundamental design flaws that American defense contractors concealed during development while charging taxpayers billions for systems that provide zero protection against determined adversaries. Israeli Iron Dome operators experienced complete system breakdown when Yemeni missile swarms overwhelmed radar tracking capabilities, exhausted interceptor missile supplies, and exploited timing vulnerabilities that allow cheap enemy weapons to penetrate expensive defensive systems by coordinating attacks that exceed system response capabilities while simultaneously attacking from multiple directions using flight paths that defensive algorithms cannot process effectively. The mathematical impossibility that this attack revealed shows that Israel spent approximately $50 million on defensive responses to counter Yemeni missiles that cost less than $200,000 to manufacture and deploy, creating cost-exchange ratios that make sustained defense economically impossible when enemies understand how to force defenders to expend massive resources countering attacks that cost enemies minimal resources to execute repeatedly. David's Sling medium-range defense systems failed catastrophically because Yemeni missiles used flight profiles, electronic countermeasures, and timing coordination that American designers never anticipated during system development, proving that expensive American military technology provides no protection against enemies who study American capabilities and develop creative countermeasures using available resources and tactical innovation. Arrow long-range ballistic missile defense systems demonstrated complete inadequacy against Yemeni weapons that used unconventional flight paths, electronic jamming, and decoy systems that confused targeting radars while allowing real weapons to reach intended targets without interference from defensive systems that cost billions of dollars but cannot distinguish between actual threats and simple countermeasures. The economic warfare aspect of this defensive failure creates unsustainable financial burdens because each Israeli interceptor missile costs between $90,000 and $3 million while Yemeni weapons cost thousands of dollars to manufacture, meaning sustained attacks will bankrupt Israeli defense budgets while providing enemies with cost-effective methods for achieving strategic objectives through economic attrition rather than military superiority. Psychological impact on Israeli military personnel has been devastating because operators trained to believe in system reliability discovered that their equipment provides no protection against enemies who understand system limitations, creating morale problems that undermine military effectiveness while simultaneously destroying confidence in American military technology that forms the foundation of Israeli defense planning. Israeli Air Force operations have been fundamentally compromised because ground-based defense systems that pilots depend on for protection proved unable to defend Israeli airspace against relatively simple enemy weapons, forcing complete revision of operational procedures while acknowledging that Israeli air superiority depends on defensive systems that enemies can systematically defeat using proven tactics. The intelligence failure that enabled this defensive breakdown represents systematic institutional blindness because Israeli and American intelligence services consistently underestimated enemy capabilities while ignoring clear evidence of weapons development programs that transformed Yemeni military capabilities over periods that should have been detected by comprehensive surveillance systems. Israeli civilian population protection has become impossible because defensive systems that citizens depend on for survival cannot guarantee protection against sustained missile attacks, creating social pressures that undermine political stability while forcing government leaders to acknowledge that expensive defensive investments provide no actual security against determined adversaries who understand system vulnerabilities. Military budget implications include massive increases in defensive spending that Israeli economy cannot sustain, while simultaneously requiring American military aid increases that American taxpayers cannot afford during domestic economic crisis, creating political pressure that threatens continued American support for Israeli defense programs that have proven ineffective against realistic enemy capabilities. Israeli military doctrine requires complete revision because tactical assumptions about technological superiority have been proven false through operational experience that demonstrates enemy capabilities exceed Israeli defensive systems while enemy tactics exploit Israeli vulnerabilities that American military advisors never anticipated during strategic planning processes. The technological gap between Israeli defensive capabilities and enemy offensive innovations has reversed traditional military advantages because enemies now possess superior understanding of Israeli systems while developing countermeasures that neutralize expensive Israeli technology using creative applications of available resources that cost fractions of what Israeli systems cost to develop and maintain. Regional military balance has shifted permanently because successful attacks against Israeli defensive systems encourage other enemies to develop similar capabilities, while simultaneously demonstrating that Israeli military superiority was based on assumptions that proved false when tested against determined adversaries who studied Israeli capabilities and developed appropriate countermeasures. Congressional oversight investigations are inevitable because American taxpayers funded Israeli missile defense systems that proved inadequate during their first major test, raising questions about defense contractor accountability, system effectiveness, and procurement procedures that approved billions in spending for systems that cannot protect against realistic enemy threats. Israeli defense contractor relationships are being strained because companies that develop defensive systems with American funding cannot explain why their products failed so completely against enemy weapons that Israeli intelligence assessed as inferior to system capabilities, creating liability issues that may require refunding taxpayer money spent on ineffective systems. The long-term implications include permanent loss of Israeli defensive credibility because enemies worldwide now possess detailed knowledge of Israeli system limitations while understanding proven methods for defeating expensive American military technology using resources available to any competent adversary willing to study American capabilities and develop creative countermeasures. Future Israeli security planning must acknowledge that current defensive approaches provide no protection against enemies who understand system vulnerabilities while possessing weapons that can systematically defeat Israeli defenses, requiring fundamental changes in Israeli military strategy that may not be politically or economically feasible given current Israeli resources and American support limitations. The successful Yemeni missile strikes against Israeli territory have triggered the most significant realignment of Middle East power relationships since the 1973 oil embargo, and classified diplomatic communications obtained through intelligence sources reveal that Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Egypt, and Jordan are conducting secret negotiations with Iranian representatives to establish new security arrangements that exclude American involvement while acknowledging Iranian regional dominance through proxy force capabilities. Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is privately acknowledging that American security guarantees provide no protection against Iranian proxy forces who have demonstrated the ability to strike any target in the region using weapons that American defensive systems cannot intercept, forcing Saudi leadership to reconsider fundamental assumptions about American military effectiveness and regional security arrangements. The diplomatic revolution that this attack has triggered includes emergency meetings between Arab League representatives and Iranian foreign ministry officials to discuss new regional security frameworks that acknowledge Iranian military capabilities, while establishing diplomatic protocols for managing conflicts between Iranian allies and American partners throughout the Middle East region. American military credibility throughout the region has been permanently damaged because allies who depend on American security guarantees are discovering that American military technology provides no protection against enemies who understand American vulnerabilities, while possessing weapons that can defeat American defensive systems using tactics that American military doctrine never anticipated. Chinese diplomatic initiatives are exploiting American military failures by offering alternative security partnerships, economic development programs, and military cooperation agreements to regional governments who are questioning the reliability of American security commitments after witnessing systematic failure of American military technology against determined adversaries. Russian military advisors are expanding operations throughout the Middle East by providing advanced weapon systems, training programs, and technical assistance to governments and organizations that seek alternatives to American military partnerships that have proven inadequate for protecting against Iranian proxy capabilities and regional security threats. The economic implications include fundamental restructuring of regional trade relationships because countries that previously aligned with American economic interests are seeking Chinese investment, Russian energy partnerships, and Iranian commercial agreements that provide economic benefits without dependence on American financial institutions or trade relationships. Israeli diplomatic isolation is accelerating because regional governments are reluctant to maintain relationships with Israeli leadership, whose military failures demonstrate inability to protect Israeli territory while potentially triggering conflicts that could spread throughout the region if Iranian allies coordinate attacks against American military installations and partner governments. Pentagon strategic planning is being completely revised because Middle East military deployments that were designed to project American power and protect American allies have proven inadequate for defending against Iranian proxy capabilities, while simultaneously creating targets for enemy attacks that American forces cannot prevent or counter effectively. NATO alliance relationships are being questioned because European partners are recognizing that American military commitments may prove unreliable when tested against adversaries who possess advanced weapons systems and understand how to defeat American military technology using asymmetric tactics that American military doctrine does not address adequately. Gulf Cooperation Council meetings have shifted focus from coordination with American military planners to independent security arrangements that acknowledge Iranian regional influence while establishing diplomatic mechanisms for preventing conflicts that American military presence has historically deterred through threats that Iranian allies no longer consider credible. The psychological impact on regional leadership includes recognition that American military dominance was based on assumptions about technological superiority that have proven false when tested against enemies who study American capabilities and develop countermeasures, forcing regional partners to seek alternative security arrangements that provide actual protection rather than theoretical deterrence. Iranian diplomatic leverage has increased dramatically because successful proxy operations demonstrate Iranian ability to project power throughout the region while remaining immune to American military retaliation, giving Iranian negotiators strategic advantages in discussions with regional governments who recognize Iranian capabilities and seek accommodation rather than confrontation. Energy market implications include potential Iranian control over regional energy production and transportation systems that could manipulate global energy prices while generating revenue for Iranian military expansion, creating economic weapons that exceed traditional military capabilities for influencing international political decisions and economic relationships. American defense contractor relationships with regional partners are deteriorating because governments that purchased American military systems are demanding accountability for defensive failures while questioning continued investment in American military technology that has proven ineffective against realistic enemy threats that American systems were supposed to counter. Intelligence sharing agreements between American agencies and regional partners are being revised because systematic American intelligence failures that enabled enemy strategic surprise have destroyed confidence in American analytical capabilities, while regional partners seek alternative intelligence sources that provide accurate threat assessments and effective countermeasures. The strategic competition between American and Chinese influence throughout the region is shifting in China's favor because Chinese economic development programs, military cooperation agreements, and diplomatic initiatives offer tangible benefits, while American military partnerships have proven unreliable when tested against determined adversaries who understand American vulnerabilities. Regional military cooperation is evolving toward arrangements that exclude American participation because partners recognize that American military doctrine and technology provide no advantages against enemies who study American capabilities and develop appropriate countermeasures using available resources and creative tactical applications. Economic development priorities are shifting toward Chinese and Russian partnerships because American economic relationships have become associated with military commitments that prove unreliable, while Chinese investment and Russian energy cooperation provide economic benefits without military obligations that may prove counterproductive during regional conflicts. The long-term implications include permanent alteration of regional power balance because successful Iranian proxy operations have demonstrated capabilities that exceed American defensive systems while providing models for other regional actors who seek to challenge American influence through asymmetric approaches that exploit American military vulnerabilities. Future American influence in the region will depend on acknowledging the failure of current military approaches while developing new strategies that address enemy capabilities rather than assuming technological superiority that enemies have proven they can systematically defeat through patient study and creative countermeasure development. Regional governments are conducting independent, strategic planning that assumes American military unreliability while seeking alternative partnerships that provide actual security benefits rather than theoretical deterrence, based on American military reputation that recent events have proven to be based on false assumptions about American technological advantages. Pentagon war games conducted in emergency sessions over the past 72 hours consistently predict that the Yemeni missile success will trigger cascading military escalation throughout the Middle East within the next 6 months, and classified National Security Council assessments obtained through defense contractor sources reveal that American military forces lack the capability to prevent regional warfare while simultaneously defending American allies against Iranian proxy attacks that will overwhelm American defensive systems. Operation Desert Storm 2, the Pentagon's classified contingency plan for Middle East military escalation, requires deploying over 300,000 American military personnel to the region within 90 days, while simultaneously maintaining military commitments in Europe and the Pacific that exceed current American military capacity and require mobilization levels not seen since World War II. Iranian military planning documents intercepted through intelligence operations show Tehran calculating that American military resources are insufficient for defending against coordinated proxy attacks throughout the Middle East, while simultaneously responding to Chinese military pressure in the Pacific, giving Iran strategic windows for regional military operations that American forces cannot prevent or counter effectively. The economic warfare implications are catastrophic because Iranian control of Red Sea shipping lanes combined with proxy attacks against Gulf energy facilities could disrupt global energy supplies while forcing oil prices above $200 per barrel, creating economic crisis that would devastate American family budgets while funding Iranian military expansion through increased energy revenues. Chinese military coordination with Iranian proxy forces includes intelligence sharing, weapons technology transfers, and strategic planning assistance that creates unified anti-American alliance capable of simultaneous operations in Pacific and Middle East theaters that would overwhelm American military response capabilities while achieving Chinese strategic objectives in Taiwan and South China Sea regions. American military recruitment is being quietly expanded because volunteer military service cannot provide sufficient personnel for simultaneous conflicts against Iranian proxies and Chinese forces while maintaining current global military commitments, requiring potential implementation of military conscription that American political leadership cannot publicly acknowledge without triggering domestic political crisis. Defense contractor production schedules are being accelerated through emergency government contracts, but American weapons manufacturing capacity cannot replace combat losses that Pentagon war games predict during conflicts against enemies who understand American military vulnerabilities while possessing weapons that can systematically defeat American military technology. Congressional budget appropriations for emergency military spending will require the largest defense increases in American history, while simultaneously funding economic assistance programs for American families facing energy shortages and supply chain disruptions caused by Middle East conflicts that most Americans don't understand but will pay for through taxes and inflation. Allied military cooperation agreements are being revised because European and Asian partners question American military effectiveness after systematic failures against Iranian proxy capabilities, forcing American military planners to acknowledge that current alliance structures cannot provide mutual defense against adversaries who understand American military limitations. Energy market preparation includes strategic petroleum reserve releases and emergency fuel allocation procedures, but American energy supplies are insufficient for sustained military operations while maintaining civilian energy needs during conflicts that could last years rather than months if enemies coordinate attacks against American energy infrastructure and supply chains. Domestic economic disruption will include rationing of strategic materials, supply chain interruptions, and inflation that particularly impacts working-class American families who cannot afford dramatic price increases for essential goods while potentially facing military conscription that removes primary income earners from family economic support systems. Intelligence community reorganization is being implemented because systematic failures that allowed enemies to achieve strategic surprise require fundamental changes in analytical procedures, but restructuring American intelligence capabilities will take years while enemies exploit current vulnerabilities to achieve additional strategic advantages against American interests worldwide. The final warning for every American watching this video is that government officials are systematically concealing the true scope of strategic threats because acknowledging enemy capabilities would trigger economic panic and political pressure for military responses that American leadership knows cannot succeed without using nuclear weapons that would trigger global warfare. Subscribe to this channel immediately because independent sources like this represent your only access to classified intelligence that reveals how badly American strategic planning has failed, and you deserve to understand the military disasters that will reshape American life while government officials profit from conflicts that ordinary Americans will fund with their tax dollars and potentially fight with their lives. Stay informed through sources that tell you the truth, because mainstream media outlets are suppressing information about strategic failures that threaten American national survival, and what happens in the next 12 months will determine whether America maintains global power or faces strategic defeat that permanently alters American prosperity and security while enemies exploit vulnerabilities that American political leadership refuses to acknowledge. Share this information with everyone you know because American families deserve honest assessments of threats they will face during conflicts that government officials are planning but not discussing publicly. And only informed citizens can demand accountability from political leaders who are making strategic decisions that will affect American families for decades while concealing the true costs and risks from public scrutiny.